Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Coffee for one today.
Coffee for one today. Natalie didn't want any.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Did you have coffee already?
I did. Like
Of
two.
course. Yeah, I didn't have anything.
I beat you to it, buddy.
That's okay. I wanted my nice cappuccino. Not sponsored by Starbucks.
Of course not. Well, it's got their face all over it.
That's okay.
Just kidding.
I'm just using it as the function. Just tastes good. They did a good job. Okay. So, the topic for discussion today. Shall I give you
welcome
my-
everybody back to our podcast.
Yeah, episode something. Episode
Five?
5, I think. It's
Yeah.
5 or 6.
Okay.
I think there'll be a big number on screen that goes. Okay, should I do my opening monologue?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Okay, to introduce the topic. Do you ever notice how you're not one person? Performed yet? You ever notice how you're not one person? There's the you your family knows, the you your best friend sees, the you become for someone you loved or thought you did. And sometimes there's a version of you that only one person ever got to meet. Today, we're talking about the weird, beautiful, sometimes heartbreaking versions of ourselves that lived inside relationships and maybe died with them too. Dramatic. So the episode today is titled "The Versions of Ourselves Only Certain People Know." So, it's great because now that we've done a couple of these, I know that the way to structure them is to get your brain going by asking you questions, and then we riff off it. So, who's the first person you think of when you hear, "I wasn't myself around them," but not necessarily in a bad way? And while you do this, I'm going to check exposure levels.
Sure. What's the question again? Sorry.
Who's the first person you think of when you hear, "I wasn't myself around them"? Not necessarily in a bad way, but just in a, I know that I wasn't authentically me.
Oh, that was like the relationship that was like the
I was
longest.
about to say, I don't know if you need to say names because
No, the longest.
I know we're a little popular.
Yeah. So that one was like, I felt like I had to like put on different skins. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's like a chameleon almost. Because it was like, I couldn't feel like I could be myself around that person. And that's like the worst feeling, is to not be able to be yourself truly when you're with somebody. I mean, obviously we've talked about it in previous podcasts before, where it takes time for true colors to really show and people to really peel back the layers of who they actually are. But I don't think I was really genuinely, for the most part, myself around this person. I mean, there were times when I was, but then when I would see certain things that, like, oh, you're like that, like, you know what I mean, like, or little cringes, it'd be like, okay, then clearly clearly I can't be my natural self around you. You know what I mean? So yeah, and I didn't really like that. I thought it was more like putting a front up, and I acting every single time, and I don't know, it just kind of got tiring, after a while, because it's like you should be able to be true to yourself, and if that person likes you enough and you can continue being true to yourselves, as both people should be, then it should be fine. Like, you shouldn't have any issues with that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
No,
that's
exactly.
just my opinion. And you?
Yeah, I mean, like I think especially as you go through life, especially going through life at the early stages of life, like between the ages of, I'd say the biggest were like between the ages of 10 and probably like 20, 30. I think that's kind of the growth period where you learn a lot about yourself, and you also learn about how you are with other people. And you find your squad, your crew, your pack.
Right.
And I think that's where you really discover who you are, who your authentic self is,
Yeah.
and who you want to trailblaze.
Yeah.
And I'd say, yeah, I feel like for the ages of 10 to 20, I was like kind of going through all the paces of like, okay, when I hang out with these people, I feel like this. When I hang out with these people, I feel like this. When I hang out with my family or this, I feel like this, and this. Who am I, and who do I want to be? And
have you been like that recently? Like, have you been in any relationships that you can think of
No.
where you haven't been?
Not recently, no,
Okay.
because I've been very. Once I accepted that I am who I am,
Yes.
and I want to be the person that I am,
Yes.
I let relationships that served me fuel me, and let relationships that didn't serve me fall
Yeah.
away.
Yeah. Makes sense.
But I guess there is some level of catering too, because there's certain relationships, like for example with work.
Yeah.
I know that I can't be 100%.
For sure.
I have to dial it back a little bit. I can't be joking and making rude remarks. So like with work, I can only give the 40% that's work.
Right.
And then with certain people, I know that I can't give any part of the 40% of work because they
Yeah.
don't give a shit about it.
Yeah.
So it'll be like, oh, 40% of personality.
Yes.
And then there's that little 20% that's saved for family and close friends and
Yes.
everything like that. So I think in total, you're always doing it on a smaller level. You just get more
Yes.
comfortable being authentically you.
Agreed.
So it turns into less of like, oh, I'm going to completely chameleon over to somebody else and like fit in with them. And it turns more into, you don't serve me, but I'll still doctor myself on some level so that I'm not working outside the social boundaries that is certain relationships.
Yep. I definitely agree with you on that. 100%.
See my next one.
Mm-hmm.
My next question for you.
Yes.
Do you ever think you've been your best self around someone?
Yes.
Yes.
I do.
Is this a family? Is this a romantic partner?
Family and romantic partner, yes. I feel like I have actually been true to myself at one point in my life. Even right now, actually, with my family, like with my daughter, because we're like besties, as you know, Madison. We're like inseparable, where she knows every little crevice about me and how I react to certain things and my reactions before even things happen. Like, when, as an example, we were walking the other day and someone was walking like against us. So we kind of just like, I had a face and she had a face and then she looked at me and we were thinking the same thing. So it's like things like that. Like, it's like, I don't even have to like tell you. It's like just cues where it's like, you know what I'm thinking kind of thing, right? So I feel like with especially with like certain family members, I feel like I can be genuinely myself. And that they understand me more so. And that goes for like a romantic partner that I've had. I think that, yeah, they've, if you, especially if for somebody that you've been with for such a long time, whether you have like kids or no kids, it's they tend to be that person that knows every single little bit about you inside and out, right? And that hence why they are either with you or not. It doesn't matter, but like you chose certain paths with them because they understood you and you were able to understand them on a level that maybe not everybody gets to see. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you?
I would say absolutely. I feel like I'm my best self every day.
Oh, good answer.
I think I'm always authentically my best self.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm most authentically my best self when I feel comfortable with the people I'm with,
Yes.
because I allow myself to have all the quirks and all the little things that make life interesting.
Yes.
And I know that for myself personally, it takes me a little bit of buffer time for that to come out and for me to feel comfortable with people. But I would say that yes, that certain level of comfort, once that's achieved, we're great. The only thing that pushes me a little bit more, where I can be kind of a little bit more unfiltered because I know I'm not being judged, is family and like probably partners, like whoever the romantic interest is at this moment.
Mm-hmm. You should
uh,
know who you
yeah,
are.
exactly. Yeah, I would say that like when you've gone past the point of good acquaintance or good friend
Yeah.
or best friend,
Yeah.
once you've gone past that point, you've breached a ceiling where I'm like, okay, now I know that you know authentically who I am,
Mm-hmm.
and so I don't have to shelter or hide anything because
Mm-hmm.
I know that you might not agree with everything I do, but you're not going to judge me for it.
Yeah.
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 Okay. Is there a version of you that only one person ever met, and do you miss being that person? Is that a version of you that you miss being?
Mm, I don't think there's, for me personally, I don't think there's been a specific version of me that one person's only met. No, because like we talked about just recently, certain people who I know and know me know my vulnerability and my vulnerable side about certain topics. So I don't think for me there is one particular person that has seen a side of me that is referring to your question. I don't think at all.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. It's an interesting question because I know that a lot of people would answer saying that yes, there is that one person.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I miss, like, I can quote a guy I know. Oh, I miss high school version of me because in high school I was the alpha, I was the prime.
Yeah.
I was my best self. I didn't care. I was confident. I got women. Whatever the hell he says.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that like there's people like that who'd be like, oh, my high school self, my university self, my this, my that.
Yeah.
But I would agree with you. I think I've been on such a consistent path of growing, and all the choices have added into situations that I believe in and grew into who I want to be.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, even looking back, I'm like, sure, I enjoyed all those periods of my life, but ultimately I'm at a point where I enjoy it the most because it's an accumulation of all of that. It's building all of that.
Yeah.
Do you think we choose who we become in relationships?
Yes. There's no hesitation on that one. Yes, we absolutely do.
So we choose.
I think you choose, yes.
Or do they pull it out of us without us noticing?
I think it's a little bit of both. Because I think, like I said before, when certain... Okay, so say I touch you or whatever, and then you're with somebody, and then they kind of like cringe back. So it's like, okay, so either what had happened prior to that touch or whatever, that they're feeling away, or maybe they just don't like PDA. So there are certain things I think that can...
Our reaction, you're saying?
Yes, can draw you to react a certain way and to not have certain things happen that you normally are, right? And then there are things that you can actually like... to that first part of your question, I think that absolutely yes. I absolutely agree with you on that. I think so. That's my opinion. I mean, like, this person that I'm seeing, it's hard because it's like I'm very sheltered in the way that I can express myself. I find I don't think I can be my true self
with him.
Yeah, with him and
or her. No.
Yes, and I don't like that feeling. That's one of the worst feelings, and it's just like I'm the type of person that likes to like have fun, relax, and feel relaxed. And I think that being with them sometimes is drawing a different side of me that I'm not comfortable being in. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's me.
Yeah, because this also gets into a whole topic on personalities and how they amplify each other and how they clash.
Yes.
Because relationships are also always a balancing act.
100%.
And I mean, there's people who I've argued with this before where they go in a relationship. There's always a dominant one, and there's always somebody who
like an alpha,
lesser, like an alpha. Alpha's a bad term because of how it's being used, but yes, to do a quick summation, it's like yes, there's always going to be somebody who has a little bit more pull, a little bit more power, a little bit more authority, and the other person's kind of servicing them. You could also say this in the side that there is always somebody who loves the other person more, which gets into a whole.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah, and which it gets into a whole conversation of: is it better for a man to love his woman more, or for a woman to love her man more? I know my answer on this, but
good question. Good question.
Stir on that one while I finish my monologue.
Yeah, keep going with your thought.
Yeah, and I think that's the relationship dynamic, and so that really does some element of letting your true self out.
Yeah.
But I also think once you get past the initial stages and you work out the boundaries and how you are with people, you've given them like, this is me, especially if you're confident, especially if you've grown into yourself. This is me. Do you like me? And then the other person is kind of like, I do like you, but I don't like that thing you do. Right?
Okay, but then that's not respecting the boundaries, whether or not it's your boundary or the other person's boundary.
Right. Well,
right.
If a guy likes to do this, squeeze your arm.
Yes.
And you go, I don't like it when you squeeze my arm.
Yes. But
that's an okay boundary to set.
Yeah, but then they continue to do that and irritate the crap out of you. Right. It's kind of like, I fucking told you.
Yeah.
And then you see another side, and then that side of like, oh, why you like that? Why you always like that? Well, I told you I don't like that, and it's just like you're not listening. But that goes for women doing the same thing to a man as well, right? Like, people have boundaries. And I think, to be honest, some people, when it comes down to certain situations, friendships, relationships, doesn't matter. I think sometimes, a lot of times, actually, people let go of boundaries
Mm-hmm.
depending on that type of circumstance and who they're with and whatever is happening. I think
Mm-hmm.
people tend to let that go, and then I think it ends up being you're not being true to yourself,
Mm-hmm.
as this whole topic is, right? Because it's kind of like, well, why are you letting that slide? You didn't let it slide for Joe, John, whoever, Sam, Nancy, you know what I mean? But yet you're letting it slide for this person.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah.
And that's where love also gets into it, because you give people a little bit more leeway and you're like, oh, I care about this person.
Question is, though, is it love or is it lust? There's a difference between that.
That's a good point.
Which would be another topic that we should carry on later on.
Is it love or is it lust? So do you think it's better for a woman to love their man more, or for a man to love their woman more? Obviously, equality is great, but
equality is 100. I'm all about equality, but I think it's better for. Oh, this is a very good question. In my opinion, I think it's good for a woman to love a man more.
agreed.
I think it's just because, and I say that because I think women, I shouldn't say think, women are nurturing people. And our role, our job, I know people may not think the same I do, is we're here to procreate. We're here to, have babies, make them and whatever and have them, right? So I think the 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 love is should be towards a man stronger than a man's towards a woman. Not to say again that there should be some sort of equality, but I feel like women are always going to have that little bit of an extra edge or an extra push over a man. And obviously women are going to show it differently. We talked about this in one of our segments before. Women show it differently than men do, and vice versa, right? And I think that there's nothing wrong with a woman to do that, but obviously not the obsession part, please. Women, we're not talking about that. Like creeping around freaking trees and shit like that. But I think in general, I think it's healthy for a woman to love more than a man in a relationship. What is your opinion?
No, I agree with you. I think that the only way a relationship truly works is if the woman loves the man a little bit more than the man loves the woman. And that's because I've noticed consistently in relationships that men take the love that they have or that they're given, and they do it back tenfold. They
Meaning?
Amplify that love
Okay.
back to their woman.
Mhm.
This is a healthy relationship, obviously. No abuse, no bullshit.
Yeah.
I find that they take the love, they go yes, and then they amplify it back to their women, and they're like, "This is 10 times more reason why I got to make sure that you're taking care of, this roof over your head, our kids are yada 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 yada."
Yes.
I also feel like when the man loves the woman more, I just feel like the woman gets disinterested.
If the man loves the woman more?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you think like it's more like an obsession love? Is that why you think
yeah.
so? Oh, guys, what do you think about that? What's your take on that? Because I'm kind of curious to know. I wonder if it
I'm
would be like
curious
a
what the
50-50,
it's
or
probably
is
going to
it
be a
gonna
50-50.
like really?
Oh yeah, because there's going to be guys who are like, "Oh, women should love me more than I love them."
That's
and
an
then,
ego boost, people.
And then I'm sure there's women who are going to be like, "No, I want my man to love me most."
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, I agree
Yes.
with everything, but I think it's important that a woman loves her man a little bit more than her man loves her.
Yes. But and I think to say about that, I think it's good because it's like I think like you said, when a woman does that, a man can ride off the coattails off of that and that energy and be like, yeah, like what you said, bring it to the table and be like, okay, you're providing A, B, and C, and you're doing it 10% more than me. So now I got to come up to the table and provide A, B, and C, right? And I think that is a healthy, again, back to our whole thing, we're not talking all that other bullshit. It's a healthy relationship where, yes, you should be able to love more, but reciprocate in a way that's going to be how a man would do it equally in their eyes.
Yeah.
Think of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree with your earlier point where you're like, women are designed to nurture.
Yeah.
I would agree that that's also part of it. And sorry if there's a lot of wind. It shouldn't be too bad.
Yeah.
by that's exactly what I would say too. Women come from a place of love and nurturing more than what a man comes from.
Yes.
And I feel like for a woman to live within that allows them to be truly feminine, truly themselves, and feel safe in that way. So if they're coming from that place of love and care and nurturing, then the man can amplify that and protect that, I guess is another key word.
I agree. 110% on that.
Got a little
Checking up.
sunshade.
Yeah.
Just had to fix that. Sorry, guys.
That's okay.
Okay. If you could resurrect one past version of yourself,
Oh my goodness.
even just for one night, who would you become again?
Oh, geez. These are like some tough questions.
Yeah, that's good.
I think I would become maybe necessary.
As you think, yeah.
Yeah, I think I would become a person like when I first kind of like had that real true love. You know what I mean? Because it's so real. It's not jaded. It's not watered down from other past experiences. So I think it was like everything is new, right? Between you and this other person. So it's like you're exploring yourself together separately. You're doing things individually. You're learning about each other. I think that version of me I would love to do.
Recently? Further back?
Further back. Yeah, further back. I think
Like
I would
younger?
like to. Yeah, younger. I think I would like to. It's like, yes, I know. I mean, you're going to obviously run into bumps in the road, but at least it's like it's clean. I don't know how else to explain it. It's like a clean sheet of paper and nothing's been written on it. So it's like
Oh, you're talking like back to like first love kind of
yeah,
innocence?
like first love. I think that is if I could go back
With your knowledge now.
With my knowledge now, yeah, I think I would like to.
But
do
the
that.
authentic emotions.
Yes, authentic.
Oh,
And
you know what? That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that's always like there's always that debate that you can have the philosophical debate on how would life be different if you had the knowledge that you had today,
right?
But you were born as a 10-year-old again. Would
That's
it make a
interesting.
difference? Would it not make a difference? I think. Well, it has to make a difference.
It does.
Because speaking from however much experience you have, there's so much you know about people in the world and how to get yourself ahead that you'd kind of be unstoppable. But it would be interesting to explore and not just in a love context, but just in a world context. It would be so interesting to explore it without having any like a clean slate.
Yeah, like outside.
No emotion, no bad experiences, no people, nothing that caused and manipulated your way of being.
Yeah.
Just like this is me and I'm experiencing this for the first time.
Exactly.
That would be really interesting, and especially just the world. I mean, there's so much about the world that's interesting.
Yeah. What is your take on it, on the question? How do you feel?
Let me read the question again.
Go back and reread it again.
I see. It's a hard question because there's like, it's interesting because there's regret tied into it.
100%.
Because it's like, who would I become again? And it's like, I've moved on from my past.
Agreed.
The past self, right?
Agreed.
And so the boring answer is, well, I don't need to because I feel comfortable and happy as myself, and I've always made a choice in the right direction. So no matter what has happened, I don't regret anything that's happened because it allowed me to be who I am, where I am at this moment, and I wouldn't trade that for the world. The other side of that is, it'd be pretty cool to go back and be in those moments where you felt like you were the king of the world, where life was happening. The moments that you think back, there's always these moments where you're like, I'm going to enjoy this moment.
Yes.
Whether you're with a partner or you're with friends on a big trip, or like best story. I would love to go back, middle of COVID, sitting on a beach on the east coast of Quebec in Gaspé, having a campfire, and just like sitting there with all the stars above, nobody around, just like me and like three of my buddies. And like I'd love to go back to that moment, not forever. Not to go back, snap back there and redo everything, but just for a night, just to enjoy that again, because that was one of those moments where you're sitting there, and I remember laying there in the lounger that I had, looking at the stars, going, "Wow, I better enjoy this moment because it ain't coming back. There's never gonna be a moment like this again."
Yes.
And
I've had lots of moments of that myself
yeah,
too. Yeah.
exactly.
And it's very like calming. It's very surreal because it's like the world doesn't exist for that moment in time.
Yeah.
All your problems, all the shit that you
Doesn't
have to
matter.
deal with tomorrow, the next day, doesn't matter.
Doesn't
You're in
matter.
that moment and you're taking in that moment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You ready for this question?
Yes, I am.
This is what I would argue is the deepest question of the whole episode.
We're delving deep.
Is the real you the one when you are alone? Or is it the one you are when you're with someone you love?
No, it's the real me is when I'm alone.
When you're alone,
Yeah.
when you're just you sitting with your thoughts.
Yes, that is the real me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is if we talk on personality levels as percentiles,
Mm-hmm.
you when you're alone is 100%.
100%.
You with the person, yeah. You with the person you love,
Mm-hmm.
90%. You with
Mhm.
family, 95%.
Mm-hmm.
You with your best friend, maybe 96, maybe more, because you can be a little bit more unfiltered.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's 85.
Right.
You at work, 50.
Yes.
You out at the gym, 25.
Yeah.
Maybe 30.
Yeah.
Oh, but we were with somebody you enjoy? Maybe 55, maybe
Yes.
60, right? That's where I think this life gets really interesting, because no matter what the instance is, the person you're with, I'm just like organizing my thoughts.
Yeah.
No matter who you're with, no matter what situation you're with, you're always going to be under 100%.
Yeah.
And so how could you ever be at 100% with somebody? Well, I don't know if that's true, because to be at 100% and to understand everything that makes you you, and to be in complete utter alignment, someone would have to experience everything with you.
Correct. I've also heard, to that note,
Yeah.
that there have been people that I've come across in my life that have told me, even if you're married to somebody or you have a life partner, they do not know you 100%
True.
at all.
True.
And I had to stop and think about that. And I was like, really? But what are you talking about? Like, they know my quirks. They can read my mind. They can, finish my sentences. But they're like, no, they do not know you 100%.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to know what everybody's, thought on that is.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because yeah, it's true. You don't know. You have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
There was a book I read, and in the book there's this, it's a magic book, yada yada yada. There's a spell, and it shows a mastery over magic.
Okay.
Because what it does is you say this spell,
Okay.
and it's nobody uses it.
Yeah.
Because what it is showing the true version of something.
Okay.
But to make the spell happen, you have to know that thing inside and out.
Okay.
So you have to know completely and utterly what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy, he's a warrior or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
he decides that the only way for him to be the true, because he's considered the powerhouse, the best magician ever, but the only way for him to do this for himself,
Yeah.
is to do this spell that nobody does. Now, the reason nobody does it is because, for example, I say, oh, I want to see the true version of my phone.
Mm-hmm.
I do this spell. If I can't come up, if I don't know this phone inside and out,
Yeah.
what will happen is it will just drain my magic until my magic starts eating my flesh, and then I essentially die. Well, not essentially, I die.
Right.
I get cannibalized because I'm spending all my energy trying to do it, and there's no way to shut the spell off once you've triggered it.
Okay.
Because there's no end in sight, because you can't actually achieve it.
Right.
And so he decides he's going to do it, and he goes to do it on his sword, because he's fought so many he goes to do it on his ring. His dad gave it to him. It's like a family heirloom, and he has a moment where he realizes, like, this ring is like 1,000 years old or whatever it is.
Okay.
How could I possibly know
Mm-hmm.
everything that this ring has gone through and what makes this ring this ring? I don't even know what this scuff on it is. So he decides to do his sword, because he forged it himself.
Okay. Yes.
With the help of another guy, but
Right.
he forged it himself, and then ultimately he calls upon the true image of his sword, and he's sitting with, like, his mentor, and the mentor's like, don't do it. He does it, And sure enough, there's the ghostly image of this like true epitome of a sword. And in that moment, he understands exactly who his sword is. So he actually changes the name of whatever. It's this whole thing. But
Okay.
all that to say, you couldn't do that. Like you couldn't, if you were equating it to a magic spell, you couldn't do that with your life partner.
No.
Because sure, you've been with them 25 years, but
Mhm.
if you got hooked up at and married at 30, we'll say,
Yeah.
you don't know 30 years. And
Yeah.
they could tell you stories.
Yeah.
And even there's moments like with family. Like I've known my dad my whole life. But sometimes my dad goes, "Oh yeah," and then there was a story where and I'm like, "I've never heard that story
Yeah.
before."
Yeah.
Oh my god, right?
Yeah, you're right. When
Yeah.
you point out things like that that have happened to the point before you've met them, you don't know that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you don't know all those experiences. You don't know their behaviors, how they, because obviously, I'd like as an example, you meet somebody like 20 years when you're 20 years old, you have, depending on the circumstances, have altered yourself and your behaviors to be one with society or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So
Mhm.
there's been some sort of level of some sort of touch points for different things in your life that have shaped you to be that person that you've met at 20 years old.
Mhm.
And so all of that has happened from like whatever, the year of birth to like 20, it's like you don't know, you only hearing in experiences or you're seeing actions based on whatever circumstances come up.
Mhm.
That's a good point.
It is a good point.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's kind of interesting how you try to be you'll always be you.
Yes.
100% you.
100%. Yeah.
But it's interesting how everybody gets a different version of you. And not even a different version, they just get smaller aspects
Snippets.
of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't get 100%. They only get whatever percentile depending on the relationship dynamic.
Yes. Yes.
And I think
agree.
I think that's really magical for the people who you can share more than just the basics. So who can get above the 90% threshold,
Yes.
you know? Who you can know a little bit more and don't feel bad about telling them things.
Yep.
Yeah, that's all the questions I had.
Okay.
Do you have any questions? Do you have any thoughts on this?
No, I think it was a very good topic. We delved in a little bit deeper on some things, and
Yeah.
I think that for the most part, I think we agree a lot on a lot of the things that we've said.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think to know one true self is, I think, to be honest, the takeaway for me is that you're the only one that knows yourself inside and out.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you alter yourself, you change your behaviors around different people, around different circumstances. Um and in moments when you're with somebody, whether those are friends or not, or like a relationship or whatever, you change and you become a chameleon because again, certain things they may like, certain things they may not like. But then at the end of the day, you're not being true to yourself. So is it detrimental to yourself? Is it detrimental to your friendship to be in that position? You know what I mean? And I mean, I get it. There's a lot of fake friends out there that do shit back and forth. Like you as a person or them as your friend, right? Is always going to be that. But it's like at the end of the day, it's like as long as you're true to yourself and you know yourself inside and out, it really shouldn't matter if you alter things for certain people and certain circumstances, because that's just the way the world is. Like you're not going to be, squeaky clean for everybody and everyone's going to like you for all that you have.
And you shouldn't be
No,
squeaky clean for
no,
everybody.
you shouldn't. It's like if I want to pick my nose in front of you,
Yeah,
example,
exactly.
I'm going to pick my nose in front of you. If you think, man, that's gross, well,
I want to pick my nose.
exactly. I don't care. That's me. I want to do that right now. Like, you know what I mean? Or if I want to just do something quirky, then, then that you should be comfortable. I think bottom line is you should be comfortable in what you are doing with whoever it is. The moment that it starts to feel uncomfortable, which there are some moments right now that I'm going through that are making me feel uncomfortable, that's when you really got to step back and really look outside and be like, is this benefiting me? How is this benefiting me? Is this something that I want to continue? Why am I intrigued by this person or this relationship? Like, what is drawing me? Or is it just lust? Again, is it just lust? I don't know, right? So those are things that internally I had to like figure out for myself and kind of like look in the mirror and be like, is it something that I want to continue doing? Because it's like when you start showing little things a little at a time, you start to see what people don't, what that person likes and what they don't like. So then it's not being true to yourself, which you should be. And of course, like we just said, you can't be 100% true to your partner, but at least they should be able to accept you and respect boundaries, your quirks, whatever you like, your likes and dislikes. Like that's part of who you are, right?
That's it.
And whatever has happened before meeting that person makes you who you are today.
That's it.
So, yeah.
So I'm going to do my little outro monologue.
You go ahead and do that.
If you're listening, think about it. Who's the one person who met a version of you nobody else did? Was it a better you, a worse you, or just a different shade of who you really are? That's the episode. I hope you guys liked it. I hope it's exciting. As a little announcement for this episode, as I was putting things together, I thought it'd be really interesting to start encouraging more interaction between us and you. So what I'm putting together is I'm going to have a web page that you guys can go to, and it's just going to be like a anonymous box, and in that box is you can just write, "Hey guys, I had this instance with this partner or this person, or I had a problem that happened like this," and we can give our 2 cents on it. We can kind of talk about how those situations relate to us, what we think, how we would navigate. That way you guys get a little bit of closure, maybe a little bit of insight, maybe a bit of what the fuck are they talking about? Who
Interactive sessions. I like that.
Yeah, and I think that would be nice, and especially for you guys to send your thoughts on all these episodes and how you feel and what you think and all those kinds of things.
Or even episodes that you would like to see, like topics that you would like to maybe bring up or discuss, because everyone has different opinions, obviously. And we're here to listen and not judge.
We listen and we don't judge.
110%. But
Exactly.
but yeah, we'll try to keep the topics very juicy. As our podcast is called. So
keep it juicy.
Let's
keep it nice.
Get those comments coming in, and we're looking forward to the next podcast with you guys. And yeah.
Great. Well, have a good rest of your day, or a good night, or a good weekend, or weekday, or I don't know. Say hi to your boss for us. I don't know.
Tell them to follow us too.
Yeah,
Tell all your friends to follow us.
Yeah. So see you guys later.
Yeah. Bye.